Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about my software journey fifth episode. This episode I would like to talk about my experience in my I think one, two, three, fourth company. Fourth company, yeah. So once yeah, last episode I talk about this my experience with the South Africa, and after that, so after that implementation I came back to Sri Lanka, and I left that company. I joined a new company. So that is Canadian based company. Actually, this is one of the best, I think the best company work so far. I worked more than 5 years, and and I left that company because I went to Singapore. What do you? So until that I in that company. I have a lot of memories. I think I might need more than one episode to talk about it. But let's see how it goes, and I will try to talk through the experience. So I joined. I had to face two interviews. Well, I think three interviews. The first one is a technical one. Then they gave me exam, and also the HR and the with the technical architect interview, and also the sorry about it. The last in they had the fourth interviews. So their CEO also interviewed. I think that that was the toughest one. I never experienced that. I never heard this one. I like normally the CEO they don't do the interviews, right? But for them, I was expecting that CEO, right? Normally just chit chat and checking how are you doing and your experience and all these things. But what happened, right? So when I went for that interview, he was start asking a technical, not like a normal. I think it was the toughest one. He was asking very difficult, very technical interviews. So like even that kind of UML, right? Now we can't even remember that whether we're talking about UML because we use different diagrams now. So that time he was like asking to draw UML diagram, use cases, and even very technical questions, stored procedures, and writing and design patterns. He asked. He was a very technical guy who worked in one of the Sri Lankan reputed company, who studied in one of the Sri Lankan reputed university as well. So he had a very good rapport. So and I work with him as well. So it's a nice experience. A very nice guy, technically, very sounds CEO. Than the management wise, he had some drawbacks in the management, but the technically was superb. So I wanted to in that company once I found all these interviews. So I joined that company. So the vibe was totally different. So they initial days, right? So that company they had so many events, like people are very happy they had the events, like and also the benefits wise, like you will get you know weekly meals, and you have you have foods in your fridge, and it's not like that in the previous company. So I know the tech giants they have this, but in Sri Lanka, I did not have that. So it was very I mean nice vibe for me. So it based on that, its vibes give you the motivation. So and the project, then the technology they are working on, that they were using the latest. So at that time that company was very famous for the SharePoint, Microsoft SharePoints, and .NET. But I joined for the .NET because I was doing .NET. So I joined .NET project, and we were doing, actually it's a Canadian based company. So they had a head office in the Canada, and only these two locations, Canada and Sri Lanka. So the Canadian, initially the project I worked is an e-commerce system. I never worked on the e-commerce system before. So it is I think that e-commerce side, they had Canadian, Hungarian, I can't remember. There's another European country. So they had the three region, and in the Canada they use, they have two languages, like English and the French. So I think we had four languages and four language sites, and it's e-commerce site. So I never work on that. That's a very good experience. So it's like around 2000. I can't remember exact period, but it is 2010 12 period. So it that time e-commerce, right? We had a eBay, Amazon, and all the other sites we had, but this is kind of a, you know, different site, and it is very, it was so technical. We had technical architects in Canada, and it's kind of a, you know, old guy. I can remember his, like, sometimes, he's so technical, that the architect we had, and but he, if he focus on one thing, right, he is not focusing any other thing. So sometimes we were asking some question. So I can't remember his name. So I asked him what happened. We have some issues, or we are planning to do some changes. We need your reviews. Then he's saying, I'm focusing on one thing, and let me finish this one, then I'll come back to you. Something like that happened. And it's kind of, yeah, different experience and different people. So that project, I think I worked more than 1.5 years or something, and until they stop, or there was a, I can't remember, but it was very good experience. Like, the technology we were using a latest .NET. We That time they introduced the MVC, but I did not get that much of time to work with the MVC. But that was the initial period they were introducing MVC, so we used the MVC. And it's MVC for, Microsoft MVC, which is for the web development. Whoever listening this, who are not familiar with this Microsoft technology, I'm talking about. So my jargon always go with the, Microsoft stack, because I am mostly working with the Microsoft stack. But although, like, whoever want to listen, right, I'm sharing my experience, so it might benefit. So I would like to, talk through. So then we built that, and they were using different, what indexing, Solar.net or something, and they had Apache server for that, for the indexing purpose, and different, API, and also, the latest .NET, and they were using entity framework, and some model generators, and very latest technology. I was very happy working with them, and even one time, but I could not go that time due to some visa reason, but they were asking me to come there. So normally that company, the company I work, the Canadian based one, so they normally, people get chance to go Canada, like, do 6 month implementation. I like stay 6 months, and you get that experience, and you can come back. So you can earn, foreign currency and all. There were a lot of benefit in that company. And the best thing is, like, a people. So they were very friendly, and we, like, I can remember one time we went, our annual trip to Malaysia. So it's like that. So they, most of the time, we have, like, twice a month or once a month, we have, team outing, and we had very team bonding experience. So, and because of that, right, the people, they're happy, and they have that bond, which is very easy people to get motivated. So then people do great things. And also you have very good tech guys. I think now they are working all over the world: Australia, Canada, UK, Singapore, and many places, US. So, like, we had a very technical people. So that helped us to, work. If you're working with, the, like, very technical architect or very technical team lead, that would give you, right, the motivation, and then you can learn so many things, not only the coding or whatever, but you will learn so many things. So I had that experience. So initially I was doing the .NET, right? So and ASP.NET, Microsoft MVC, and SQL Entity Framework, or very latest technology. And the other thing is, like, working with the Canadian client. So that also very good experience. I work with the Canadian clients, and also the project managers, architect, and all these people. So it's give me the opportunity. I work with the South African people, but it's a different experience. But the Canadian people, it's a different experience. You know, because they know, like, even if you work with the Canadian architects, right? We do mistakes, right? I can remember I've done one mistake, so I would like to talk about mistake as well, because we all do mistakes. We learn from the mistake, then we can, then only we can find, we can learn from that, then only that's the way forward. So what happened one time, because I was about to finish that project, but I had to do one change, and I fixed that without testing much. So I think it break. Then one of the architect complained about from Canada. And then I was advised, if you're doing that, you need to, make sure you do your developer testing and make sure no errors, and communicate. Like if you have any issue, talk to the architect or the team lead, even your colleagues. Talk to them, try to get help if you're stuck, or that should be the way. So these things I will learn. And also when I'm writing an email to the Canadian people, that time I can remember there was one complaint. Sometimes when I'm sending an email, I think I got that issue. uh, when I'm typing something, let's say I'm typing something in the email, but sometimes one or two words I missed. So I need to read multiple times, maybe two times. So you need to read spellings, like you do the take autocorrect, but your grammar, all these things. If you're writing an email, so that is very important, because the person who will be reading this, right? They should understand why you are writing this email. So these things I learned. So these are the soft skill I learned from that company. Technology wise, first I've done the .NET, then I will come back to the very important part. So then, like, we finished the .NET project, the e-commerce project. So then that time we don't have much .NET, because we have SharePoint and we had you know CRM, Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So they gave me an option, which one you like to do. So like, we don't have much of .NET project this year. So we have so many dynamic CRM and also the SharePoint. Which one you would you like to choose? So I chose Microsoft Dynamic CRM. So from that selection, it changed my whole life. I mean, still I'm doing a dynamic CRM like more than 10 years. So that selection, if I've selected Microsoft's the SharePoint, I might have to change again to a new technology, because now I think SharePoint is in the market, but it it does not have that value which were at that time. It was like people were using SharePoint heavily, and it was like it's a rare skill, and we had a very good value, but it's changed. I think I heard Microsoft did one mistake, and they were trying to correct it, but they fail, I believe. So it's like that. So what I wanted to, that selection, so it's very important in your life. But I don't know, I've taken that decision by thinking so many things, but maybe I'm lucky. So I've selected the Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So then I've started mm, learning it. So that time we were working with the 2011 version, Microsoft Dynamics 2011. Now, a version I know very, I mean, now it's a totally different. But that time, before that, they had CRM4 or something, but 2011 was the latest, and it was good interface, and they had so many features. And still I'm doing the latest, but I like the way, like the classical way of 2011, and it had so many features. I don't see much changes in the what you call this latest version, but you normally, I can talk about technology part later. But basically the technology wise, I learn, I mean, I start learning, and from that onwards, right? I work with so many clients and so many projects in that Canadian based company before I moved into the Singapore. And it was the turning point of my life. So the things I've done, right? I've done so many. I got opportunity to work with more modules. So I think I can talk about that product. So, and the mistake we did while we were doing something in that company. So I would like to share this experience in the different video, the mistake that company did, and they had to, suffer from that. These mistakes are very important, whoever listening. And because if we are trying to do a mistake, right? If you have heard this before, you might not do that. So that was one of the important lesson I learned from that company. So when we were doing dynamic CRM, the main we had a product called PeopleWorks. So that is the base product. On top of that, we were building our projects. So we were doing so many projects for the Canadian regulatory body. So like I can remember for nursing regulatory body, the dentist, the optician, and and one of I've done one of I've done one project for municipal council. I work with a DX Studio that time, and I think that system still running. Oh, I just checked the website recently. I can remember it. I'm very happy because I built on that. And we had I mean, the UI wise, we had a UI guys, but development wise, I work with mainly I will work with the web portal, the ASP.NET portal. They were not using the MVC. We were using ASP.NET portal, and we were using Microsoft CRM as a backend. So when we are developing that, so I mean technical things we can talk about in a different video. So then whoever want to learn about the technical, I can talk about. But this series mainly I focus mainly, my experience. So when we are working with that product, we had a very Canadian director. So from his guidance, he was working with the you know the marketing team, and we worked with him based on, like, we had a different teams called PeopleWorks team. So we work on that, and at the end I got the opportunity to visit Canada, and also implementation. So it's a very good experience. So and from that I realized the weather. So still I don't think whether I would be happy to move to Canada, but I don't know. It's different, but it's I don't like with weather, to be honest. It's like that time when we were visiting, it was like minus. One time it was like minus 35 or something. It's always minus. So it's during the winter time. They got the summer, but it's especially with the we visited Ontario. So Ontario, it's always very cold. So to be honest, I don't like that weather. Compared to UK, it's totally different, and it's like that. So anyway, coming back to the experience working with the client, the project manager, and different people, right? The Canadian, compared to other countries like Singapore, UK, or Sri Lanka, the Canada, they have a different way of working, and the time zone difference when we are working with that, because uh, the Canada, right? So for Sri Lanka, I think the time difference is like a 12 hours or something. So that also very important, because let's say one time, right? I can remember when I was in Canada, I've seen that there was an issue with one of the team's deployment, and it has broken the site. But Canadian people, they wanted to contact Sri Lankan team. We had a supporting team, different support team, but they could not reach developer because it was like night time. So then we helped to fix that issue when we were there. So it's like that. So you need to, I mean, that time difference is very important. So from that, what you need to do if you are working uh, that kind of a situation or that kind of a scenarios, you need to make sure you test and make sure you don't have any bugs before deploying to the live environment. So if it break, right? So then for their daytime, they I mean, if they do not have a development team, if the development team is from Sri Lanka, so they would struggle to fix that issue, and the client will face that. So these things I've learned. So always, right, when I'm talking about, I'm always telling this. Even sometimes you do that hot fixing, you do deployment, whatever, right? Even though we have a process, you do the development, deploy to the QA do the testing, then Then after that, what QA do, they give the sign off, then we deploy to the UAT environment, client will test. Then from that we deploy the staging environment, then we make sure everything is fine, deployment is fine, then we deploy to live environment. We have these processes, but sometimes hot fixes, like very urgent one, you might need to skip sometimes from development to the staging or UAT. Then even the client might not get time to do the testing, it's kind of a very urgent fix, then you need to deploy live. So even though if you get any kind of a situation, try to at least do your testing. If you do any code and if you think, even if it is 100% sure, try to do at least some smoke testing. So these are the very important thing you need to do. Otherwise, you never know. There could be so many, because let's say you are fixing issue for existing system. It's you there could be scenarios like this, right? You have brand new system and you're deploying to the live, and it could be a parallel run or pilot run or whatever, and system is not live, so then it's fine, no one is using it. But if it is a live system, you deploy to the live, then you do the change request or you fix an issue. So these are the very important things. So functioning site, if you break something, think about the financial impact for the client. And yeah, so it's always think about perspective of client is very important because of the client, right? That's why you have your job, that's why you have your company, that's how you are earning the money. And for the client, it's important their customer. So because of the customer, they have their project, that's why they are functioning as a business. So we need to support, think about the impact for that business. Always you need to think, it should be in your mind. Why? From that money you are earning, and you can feed your children, your parent, and you can do good things, you can enjoy. But that's how you're getting a salary, that's how your company will survive, that's how business will work. So these thoughts are very important as a developer. Like, don't think, oh, I'm just a developer, I do this, I'm getting a salary. No, don't think in that way. Always try to think about others. Empathy, I mean, it's not like, you empathy wise, team structure, we can talk about how we should be thinking it. But the client wise, it's you need to think about the client, how important they are, and how you can improve, how even if you can give a small suggestion to them. Don't think about money. Always it's maybe you can do for free. You can discuss with your team where while you are doing a one sprint, you can add small feature for them. That would be very helpful for them. You, let's say the client, right? They might need to fill 100 forms or 1,000 or 10,000 forms. If they are doing it manually, try to automate something, or give them a very nice user experience. And think that they're typing, right? They're using a keyboard, they're using a mouse. Think this, they are human. Try to improve something. Work with the UI UX engineers and try to improve the system. So those are the things I've learned working with this company. So hope you enjoy this episode. See you in another episode. Have a good day. Bye.